off more than 4%. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is defending the new tariffs.
Lutnick told CBS Mornings, America has taken care of the world. Now he says time to take care of American manufacturing and workers and balance the trade deficit. He acknowledges the tariffs will drive some prices up.
Foreign goods may become a little more expensive, but domestic goods do not.
As for the slumping stock market, as investors fear a global trade war,
sure, there's going to be some short-term movement, but this is a reordering of global trade.
Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Tariffs on cars and trucks kick in today. One manufacturer has announced special pricing. WWJ's Jeff Gilbert from Detroit.
Ford will offer employee pricing on most of its vehicles from now until June 2nd. The deal comes as car makers are concerned that tariff-related fears could keep people away from dealerships.
At least 3 deaths have been confirmed in violent storms and tornadoes that tore through cities from Oklahoma to Indiana, Texas to West Virginia. 4 people were injured in Kentucky when a church was hit by debris. The fear now, water. CBS meteorologist Kate Bilo.
This is going to be days upon days of potential flooding rainfall. How much are we talking? We could see as much as 10 inches of rain before all is said and done.
The same day Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu arrived in Budapest, Hungary's government says it's leaving the International Criminal Court. Reporter Linda Gradstein from Jerusalem.
The trip to Hungary is Netanyahu's second trip abroad since the ICC issued its arrest warrant against him, accusing him of war crimes in Gaza. Instead of arresting Netanyahu, Hungary welcomed him with a military honor band and said the country would begin the process of withdrawal from the ICC.
Maybe it's the price? Disneyland and Disney World conspicuously absent from a top 5 list of favorite theme parks. Number 1, Orlando's Discovery Cove. 2nd, Knoebel's Amusement Resort in Pennsylvania. Next, Tennessee's Smoky Mountain Alpine Coaster. And then Universal Islands of Adventure in Florida, followed by Disney California Adventure. NASDAQ futures down 881. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
9:03 on Thursday, April 3rd. We are at 58 degrees. Some mist and rain out there, going up to around 80 though. Good morning, I'm John Aaron.
And I'm Michelle Bash. Our top story is the Trump impact of sweeping new tariffs. 25% tariffs on all cars imported to the U.S. took effect early this morning. They come a day after President Trump announced tariffs of at least 10% on all goods imported from other countries. Stay with WTOP for updates all morning long on how stock markets are reacting, along with the latest news and analysis.
Now, a bill to undo tariffs against Canada has been approved in the Senate in a rare rebuke of the president. WTOP's Mitchell Miller has the details today on the Hill.
Tariffs are a tax. Tariffs will hurt our families. Canada is not an enemy.
Virginia Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, a sponsor of the legislation that seeks to halt tariffs against Canada that are linked to an emergency declaration to fight fentanyl. Kaine and other Democrats say the tariffs penalize everyday Americans and businesses in their respective states. But most Republicans, including Senate Majority Leader John Thune, focused less on tariffs than on the need to maintain the president's executive order.
Ending this emergency declaration would tell the cartels that they should shift their focus to the southern border.
To actually rescind the tariffs, the House would still need to approve the bill, but that's not likely to happen. On Capitol Hill, Mitchell Miller, WTOP News.
A dispute in Woodlawn ends in gunfire. One man is dead, another fighting for his life this morning. Fairfax County Police say they responded to a shooting between 2 men on Madge Lane, just off Richmond Highway. This was around 1:30 this morning. The 2 got into some kind of argument and shot at each other. One man taken to the hospital with critical injuries, the other found dead at the scene. Police are asking anyone with information about what happened to call 911.
Local leaders are promising to push back on some of the newest federal spending cuts, which are aimed at our local school systems. WTOP's John Doman has more.
Close to $100 million is at risk in Prince George's County under the cuts being proposed by Education Secretary Linda McMahon. And Maryland Congressman Glenn Ivey says the county can't afford that.
A lot of these funds have been expended already, and this is reimbursement that's supposed to take place. So it would really be putting the county in a hole.
This week, the school system says it had to start freezing any spending related to COVID-era funding grants. Superintendent Millard House saying that's going to impact teacher training, school construction, mental health, and other services. The state attorney general's office says it's weighing its options. John Doman, WTOP News.
If you tend to have a heavy foot behind the wheel, you have something you need to know. Virginia is about to employ smart technology to stop reckless drivers from speeding. Here's WTOP's Neil Augenstein.
Here in Virginia, if you've been convicted of reckless driving and driving more than 100 miles an hour, a judge will be able to order you to install an intelligent speed assistance device. While the exact technology hasn't been defined, it's essentially a limiter based on smart GPS technology that sees where you are and gauges how fast you're going. The driver would be responsible for paying to install the device as an option to having their license suspended. Tampering with or trying to bypass or circumvent the system would be a Class 1 misdemeanor. It's expected to take effect in July 2026. Neil Augenstein, WTOP News.
Should those reversible lanes on Rock Creek Parkway run 2 ways, 24 hours? The National Park Service is taking comments on that. A public meeting was held last night to discuss details of a project that would also add roundabouts, medians, and new traffic control measures along the parkway. Officials say this project aims to improve safety, reduce congestion, and increase pedestrian and bicycle access. You can submit comments on the plan through May 2nd by going to the National Park Service website.
Coming up on WTOP in Money News.
The new tally on Doe's job cuts is staggering. I'm Jeff Claybaugh.
It's 9:07.
At ICF, we work with government and industry on projects that create positive change in communities nationwide. Whether it's powering energy innovation, advancing health outcomes, or leveraging technology and AI for mission success, we work with clients to tackle their most complex challenges head-on. Our data-driven solutions are designed to deliver results faster and help organizations move forward with confidence. Let's build a more resilient world. Visit ICF.com. That's ICF.com.
9:08.
Get a precision AC tune-up for only $59.
Michael and Son.
Traffic and weather on the 8s. How are we looking on the roads on this dark morning, Rita Kessler?
Well, let's start out with the problem on 28, because that's the unusual delay southbound solid before Waxpool Road, headed towards 606 Old Ox Road. The left side of the roadway is blocked with the crash. There is a tow truck on the scene, but that's the reason for the backup. After you get to the toll road, everything looks good, headed towards Chantilly and 66. Now on 66, eastbound a little heavy passing 234 Business. Also seeing a slowdown getting onto the inner loop of the Beltway. Inner loop is then slow out of Tyson's, headed past the toll road. Outer loop of the Beltway in Maryland delays after Old Georgetown Road and off of southbound 270 at the lane divide, all the way around toward the Clara Barton Parkway. On southbound 270, you will slow after 121 in stretches headed to Montgomery Village Avenue, and also some volume between 370 and 28, but nothing major. Outer loop top side, that's slow from 95 headed around toward Georgia Avenue. You'll also find the inner loop delay headed toward the Woodrow Wilson Bridge is pretty much cleared out, but we still have the delays into the district. Northbound I-295 from Malcolm X Avenue across the 11th Street Bridge all the way to the Case Bridge toward the 14th Street Bridge. From DC 295, that delay is Eastern Avenue to Pennsylvania Avenue, and you'll also find delays on northbound 395 from the Pentagon across the 14th and the Case, headed into the 3rd Street Tunnel, which continues slow all the way to New York Avenue. Inbound New York Avenue, the delay before Florida Avenue, headed to the 3rd Street Tunnel, and we have delays still crossing the inbound Roosevelt Bridge. So the length of the bridge around onto the East Street Expressway, around toward the Potomac Freeway, or onto Constitution Avenue, headed toward 14th Street. The WTOP newsroom is furnished by Regency Furniture. Shop Regency Furniture's Red Tag Savings Event. Save 50% on furniture, plus take an extra 20% off Red Tag items for even more unbeatable deals. I'm Rita Kessler, WTOP Traffic.
7 News First Alert meteorologist Eileen Whalen.
Well, what a dreary start to the day.
today. I'm still tracking some areas of patchy fog and drizzle. We'll see improving conditions late morning. Skies will be mostly cloudy through the day, but afternoon highs, despite the clouds, get into the upper 70s to lower 80s. Southwesterly winds between 10 to 20 miles per hour. Late this afternoon and this evening, we're under a level 2 out of 5, a slight risk category for storms that could contain damaging winds and hail. So keep that in mind later today and remaining unsettled through the weekend. I'm 7 News meteorologist Eileen Whalen in the First Alert Weather Center.
We've got the mist out there. You might be seeing some pockets of rain near Urbana and Mount Airy. It is 59 degrees on the National Mall, brought to you by Long Fence. Save 25% on decks, pavers, and fences. 6 months, no payment, no interest. Conditions apply. Go to longfence.com.
Money news at 10 and 40 past the hour. Here's Jeff Claybaugh.
Oh, my goodness. It's going to be a rough open when that opening bell rings in about 19 minutes ahead of the open. Dow futures are down 1,300 points. That is a 3% futures loss after sweeping tariffs by the Trump administration kicked into effect. S&P 500 futures are down about 4%, $1.7 trillion in S&P 500 stock value could be wiped out in early trading here. The NASDAQ will see a huge loss when the bell opens. Futures for the NASDAQ are down 908 points. That is a 4.5% loss. There's a new tally on DOGE-related job cuts that have been announced, and it's staggering. Placement from Challenger Gray and Christmas says over the last 2 months, the total is more than 280,000 government layoff announcements across 27 agencies, and thousands of others cut at nonprofits that are losing government contracts. Amazon is set to take on Starlink. After 6 years of development, Amazon launches the first batch of its low Earth internet satellites April 9th. Amazon is spending $10 billion on its satellite internet service and plans 3,000 satellites by the end of next year. Starlink has 7,000 internet satellites in orbit currently. If you're not close to a Wawa right now, you might be soon. The Washington Business Journal says Wawa is scouting Northern Virginia for as many as 24 new locations. That would double the number of Wawa stores currently in the entire D.C. region. New locations are already planned at Loudon Crossroads and in Haymarket. Jeff Claybaugh, WTOP News.
Lido Pizza has a square deal for you. A 14-inch cheese Lido Pizza with an Italian salad for only $17.99. Order online at LidoPizza.com.
Coming up, just how bad could car price hikes be? We will talk about it with someone who represents the auto industry next. It's 9:13.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-1794. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-1794. That's 800-575-1794. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
The WTOP app has all kinds of handy new features.
Like a feedback tool, so you can send us your newsworthy photos, videos, and messages.
Then you'd be a reporter too. Welcome to the WTOP team.
Download it wherever you get your apps.
Brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Visit NavyFederal.org. Insured by NCUA.
It's 9:15. I'm Michelle Bash.
I'm John Aaron. Your next new car could be much more expensive now. That's because President Trump's 25% tariffs on foreign-made cars took effect at 12:01 this morning.
Joining us to go deeper on what it could mean for you, Jennifer Safavian, President and CEO at Autos Drive America. It's a trade association representing international automakers that have U.S. operations. Good morning, Jennifer. Thanks for being here. You have crunched the numbers. What are your predictions when it comes to the price of new cars?
Good morning, Michelle and John. Thank you so much for having me on this morning.
Yes, we have done some modeling looking at the impact that tariffs could have on the U.S. auto industry. And we did this in conjunction with global data. And honestly, when we looked at this, we did this a few weeks ago, we looked at a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico and a 10% global tariff on all other imports. So you might kind of call that a best case scenario, considering that, what we're looking at today is actually 25% imports or tariff on imports from all countries. And so even looking at that sort of best case scenario, the modeling showed that with that 25 tariff on Canada, Mexico, and 10% global tariff, the U.S. auto production was going to see a sharp decline. In this year alone, 2025, we would see a decline of about 4.5% or 435,000 units. That decline in production continues into next year, into 2026, by a little less, but you still see over almost 250,000 less units produced. And of course, additionally, you see a major reduction in U.S. sales of autos in the U.S. The analysis showed that for this year alone, over 1 million less vehicles would be sold. And that's not just imported vehicles. Please keep in mind that that's lower sales for U.S. made vehicles as well. And for consumers, what the analysis showed was that new vehicle prices would rise by over $4,000 or 8%. And what that actually means for consumers, not only that additional cost, but if you finance your car, that's an additional $1,000 in extra interest. And you could see your monthly costs go up by about $80 a month.
And when you say prices could rise by $4,000 a car, you're saying that's based on a model that was more forgiving than this 25% tariff that just kicked in?
Yes, I'm afraid so, yes.
Okay. When you say that we would see a sales decline in U.S.-made cars as a result, why would that be?
Because keep in mind that U.S.-made vehicles need parts from all over, right? So you get imported parts from Mexico, Canada, all different countries. Those parts are also going to have this 25% tariff. So those costs will be increased as well. So not only there is not a vehicle that's sold in the U.S. market that is 100% that is made in America and 100% U.S. content. So that's why you're going to see additional costs go up on American-made vehicles as well.
The Trump administration says the U.S. has unused manufacturing capacity so it can shift auto production here. Do you agree with that?
I'm glad you asked that question because it is something that has been raised several times. And let me just explain that a little bit. So yes, there is some extra capacity in the production facilities here in the U.S. And that's not just for my members. That's for the entire U.S. automakers. But to say that you can get at 100% capacity for all of these facilities, I think is more of a myth. Current production today runs about 70 some odd percent at most facilities. 80% is considered a very profitable plant. We were probably about 80% prior to COVID at most of the facilities. So certainly we're getting closer back to that number. But when you run a facility above 80%, right, trying to get to that 100% number, you do start to encounter some problems. And that involves, you run into some risk quality issues with the production. Of course, you need to increase your staff. You need to increase your workforce. And while that sounds like definitely a positive, you need to make sure you can find those workers. It takes time to train them. Some extra costs go into all of that. And of course, you need more of those parts. You can't build these vehicles without the parts that are needed for that. And so you need to make sure that those parts are available in order to increase that production. And then, of course, as you're running a facility, much hotter and much, increased production, you're going to encounter more maintenance issues. And so you are going to have to take it down to fix those problems as well. So I will say there are some facilities, some plants where they do run platforms at 100% today, but these are for very popular model vehicles. You're not going to overproduce models, of course, that are not selling. So we keep in mind, of course, production facilities are they're not ones printing money, right? You need to sell vehicles in order to make the money to actually continue to run and produce these facilities.
Thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you.
Jennifer Safavian, President and CEO at Autos Drive America. That's a trade association representing automakers that have U.S. operations.
Traffic and weather on the 8s. Here's Rita.
And let's update the situation in Virginia on southbound 28. Thanks to callers for letting us know the wreck near 606 or Old Ox Road has been cleared. Now, there was a tow truck on the scene, so thankfully everything is gone. Lanes are open. You do still have a little bit of a delay before Waxpool Road trying to head in that direction, but nothing as bad as it had been. Now, on the Beltway, inner loop, a little bit of volume out of Springfield, off and on, headed past Braddock Road. Also on eastbound 66 from Nutley Street onto the inner loop, and then a delay out of Tyson's headed past the toll road. Now, the George Washington Parkway is slow in both directions into the long-term work, southbound near 123, northbound near Spout Run. Northbound's also seeing a delay passing 123, trying to head toward the CIA and Turkey Run, so watch out for anything separate there. Also seeing a delay on the northbound Baltimore-Washington Parkway, coming from the Beltway, trying to head into Greenbelt, where we could possibly have a work zone. Pepco can help your business save energy and money. Upgrade to energy-saving equipment and get financial incentives of up to 50% off project costs. Learn more at pepco.com/save more. I'm Rita Kessler, WTOP Traffic.
7 News First Alert meteorologist Steve Rudin. Why is it so dark out there this morning? This is not what I signed up for today.
It is cloudy out, and those clouds will eventually bring us a little bit of wet weather, especially as we move through the afternoon and then into the evening, and even the chance for a few stronger thunderstorms as we head through the later part of the day and into the evening hours. Some may contain some gusty winds and heavier downpours, but need to stress the bad weather we've seen across the deep south is not going to be in the same form for us. Temperatures today, though, much warmer than yesterday, upper 70s to lower 80s. It will be on the breezy side. Scattered showers and storms continue overnight. Tomorrow, another dreary day, more clouds than sun, 65 to 70. We're in the upper 60s to middle 70s on Saturday with morning showers, and then by Sunday, afternoon showers and storms are likely with highs in the upper 60s to middle 70s. At this hour, we have a wide spread in temperatures. It is 55 at Dulles, 61 degrees at Reagan National, and 67 at Andrews.
And it's brought to you by Len the Plumber Heating and Air. Trusted same-day service 7 days a week.
Coming up.
Virginia Democrats push back on Governor Youngkin's changes to the state budget. This is Kyle Cooper.
More news in 60 seconds.
Introducing Agent Force, the AI-powered digital labor platform for government. With Agent Force, agencies can streamline operations, make faster data-driven decisions, and use proactive AI agents to multiply impact, all in a secure cloud environment. Empower your teams with the tools they need to build connections and serve America more efficiently. Agent Force, transforming federal service for a smarter, safer future. Learn more at salesforce.com/government. That's salesforce.com/government.
Stadler's free tree planting sale is back. Now's the perfect time to plant trees for beauty, shade, and privacy, and to take advantage of our popular free tree planting sale. Buy any tree that is $200 or more between March 27th and April 27th, and we'll plant it in your yard free if you live within 30 miles of the nursery. Delivery and a 1-year warranty are included.
Stop by, shop online, or by phone. There's no need to meet with our landscape crew. Call 877-STADLER.
This is Washington's top news.
WTOP News.
Facts matter.
9:23.
In Virginia, Democrats are ignoring most changes to the state budget proposed by Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin. More on that from WTOP's Kyle Cooper.
Governor Youngkin made 205 changes to the lawmakers' spending plan, but the House of Delegates rejected 164 of those in a one-day marathon session yesterday. One lawmaker saying we're not going to allow the governor to basically shift money away from the priorities that Democrats passed in the budget back in February. The Virginia Senate also rejected the governor's changes on bills involving criminal penalties and contraception. The Senate did approve the governor's idea to ban cell phone use in schools from bell to bell. The budget goes back to the governor, who can still use his line item veto, but can't call for any other changes. Kyle Cooper, WTOP News.
Fewer federal workers could be heading back to their jobs. A federal judge had ordered the Trump administration to reinstate fired federal probationary employees across the country at more than a dozen agencies. But now he has narrowed the scope of his ruling, so it only applies to workers in the 19 states and the District of Columbia who had challenged the dismissals. Maryland is among the states involved in this lawsuit. Virginia is not. The government is appealing the case to the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Richmond.
Sports at 25 and 55, brought to you by Amentum, advanced engineering and technology solutions for tomorrow.
Here's Dave Preston.
Capitals clashing with Carolina, and after getting rocked by the Hurricanes, the Caps try to come back thanks to their captain.
One-timer, and
off the glove of Anderson. The puck stays in the zone. 40 left in the period. Ovechkin to the high slot. As Chychrun feeds it to him, he scores! Alex Ovechkin gets goal. 892.
John Walton on the Capitals Radio Network. Washington loses 5-1, but Alex Ovechkin's goal gives him 39 for the season, 892 for his career. That's 3 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's NHL mark. Caps host Chicago tomorrow. This morning on the sports page at WTOP.com. History on the line, what it's like to skate with Ovi. Plus, miking up for a milestone, what it's like to be in the booth for Ovi's chase of 894. NBA Wizards beat Sacramento 116-111. Jordan Poole leading the way with 23 points. Baseball Nationals lose in Toronto 4-2, getting swept by the Blue Jays, slipping to 1-5 on the season. Orioles lose at home to Boston 3-0. Men's college basketball, Maryland introduces Buzz Williams as its new head coach. Hall of Famer and former Terps coach Gary Williams.
You know, he's won, the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Big East, and the Southeastern Conference. So to win in the Big Ten is hard, but he's proven that he has the ability to win at that level.
We'll hear from both Coach Williamses over the course of the morning. College basketball Crown quarterfinals. Georgetown slips to Nebraska 81-69. Malik Mack nets 25 points in defeat. Dave Preston, WTOP Sports.
Coming up after traffic and weather, a global sell-off out of concerns about the impact of President Trump's new tariffs. We'll get a live update from our business reporter, Jeff Claybaugh. It's 9:26.
Every day, thousands of Comcast engineers and technologists like Kunle put people at the heart of everything they create.
In the average household, there are dozens of connected devices. Here in the Comcast family, we're building an integrated in-home Wi-Fi solution for millions of families like my own. It brings people together in meaningful ways.
Kunle and his team are building a Wi-Fi experience that connects 1 billion devices every year. Learn more about how Comcast is redefining the future of connectivity at comcastcorporation.com/Wi-Fi.
4, relax. I'm not hitting a golf ball. This is Dave Johnson. 4 is Window Nation's magic number. Right now, Window Nation's buy 4, get 4 free sale going on through April 30th. And no limit to how much you can save. And if you buy a house full of windows, you ready? They'll include a free entry door too. Plus, you could get new windows and pay nothing until 2027. Imagine what you could do with all that extra money. Maybe take up golf. But the sale ends April 30th. Hurry. Schedule your estimate at 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com.
Oh, I know what you're thinking. Seafood at a diner? Must be frozen fish sticks, right? Clearly, you haven't been to Silver Diner. Here, we have standards. Silver Diner serves up fresh, never-frozen cod, scallops, and halal-certified salmon every single day. And with our weekday Blue Plate specials for lunch, you can enjoy top-quality seafood without stretching your budget. So yes, seafood at a diner, as long as it's Silver Diner. Fresh, delicious, and nothing like you were expecting. Silver Diner, the next generation diner.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your team and focus on your future. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
I love this song! I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
9:28. Traffic and weather on the 8s. Here's Rita Kessler.
And right now, let's talk about the work that is already set up on the northbound Baltimore-Washington Parkway. This is going to be a delay coming from the Beltway, trying to make your way past, toward NASA Goddard, actually, through Greenbelt and past NASA Goddard. Today, it's the left lane blocked with the work. Southbound still has some volume in stretches, trying to make your way from Arundel Mills, passing 32 and 198 toward 197. Southbound 95 delays getting onto the outer loop of the Beltway, which is still slow all the way to Georgia Avenue. Then a heavy from the big curve and off the southbound 270 spur to the point where they merge. Southbound 270, slowest point's going to be after 121 to passing 118. And then just volume from there headed into Rockville. Southbound George Washington Parkway slows into the long-term work with a single lane getting you by. So this is going to be after 123. While westbound 66 continues to see a delay in Arlington trying to head into Falls Church. However, after 29 in Glebe Road, keep an eye out because there may be a wreck after 29 before you even get into Falls Church. Northbound 395, the delay from the Pentagon across the 14th Street Bridge into the district. Northbound I-295, delays before the Suitland Parkway across the 11th Street Bridge. We also see delays both ways getting into the 3rd Street Tunnel, which remains slow from Massachusetts Avenue headed toward New York Avenue with the lanes available to you. Southbound 28, the delay should be cleared headed toward Old Ox Road. That earlier crash is gone. The support brought to you by Live Nation. Don't miss Melissa Etheridge on her spring tour Saturday, April 12th at the Warner Theater. Get tickets now at livenation.com. I'm Rita Kessler, WTOP Traffic.
Here is 7 News First Alert meteorologist Eileen Whalen.
Well, they say April showers bring May flowers, and we've certainly got rain chances in the forecast. Not a washout, but keep the umbrella on hand today through Sunday. Today, we will see morning fog and drizzle give way to warm, windy, and humid conditions this afternoon. It'll get to around 80, and a 30% chance of a late afternoon or evening thunderstorm. That chance will continue overnight with lows in the 60s. Tomorrow, scattered showers throughout the day, highs in the 60s, and we're a little warmer for the weekend. I'm 7 News meteorologist Eileen Whalen in the First Alert Weather Center.
Temperatures now 57 in Rockville, 56 in Ashburn, 61 in Fort Washington. It's brought to you by Top Nova Orthodontics. Avoid tooth extractions or surgery for your orthodontic treatment. Visit Dr. Abbasi at Top Nova Orthodontics.
You're listening to WTOP, Washington's news, traffic, and weather station.
WTOP News. Facts matter.
Good morning, I'm John Aaron.
I'm Michelle Bash. Andrew Alsbrooks is our producer.
The top story we're following for you. We appear to be in for a very rough day for your money, with stock trading now underway for the day. More on that in just a moment. This comes after President Trump's big tariff announcement yesterday. He declared a 10% baseline tax on imports from all countries and higher tariff rates on dozens of specific nations. Allies and adversaries alike are reeling from the tariff blitz, with some signaling they're ready to retaliate.
I'm Michael Wallace. Many world leaders have condemned Trump's tariffs and vowed to retaliate. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
Decisions we take in coming days and weeks will be guided only by our national interest.
The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, says the tariffs are a major blow to the world economy.
Europe has everything it needs to make it through the storm. We are in this together. If you take on one of us, you take on all of us.
Michael Wallace, CBS News.
So how are markets doing in early trading? Let's get more live with WTOP business reporter Jeff Claybaugh.
Michelle, it is very early trading. Just 2 minutes since the bell rang, the Dow is down 1,141 points. The S&P 500 is down 190 points. That's a 3.5% loss. Roughly $1.7 trillion has now been erased from the S&P 500 index just in the first few minutes of trading. It looks like roughly 90% of S&P listed stocks are down. More than half of them, at least 2%. The biggest losers will be companies dependent on overseas manufacturing. Apple starts the day down 8%. Nike's down 9%. Big retailers whose stores are filled with products sourced from outside the U.S. are losers. Walmart, among them. Maybe a surprise big loser is Wayfair. That stock has dropped 12%. Much of the furniture Wayfair sells is made in Cambodia, Vietnam, and Thailand, which face much higher tariffs. A new Federal Reserve estimate says the sweeping tariffs could end up boosting inflation this year by at least 1.5%. Back to you in a minute, but first a check on the overseas markets where the effect has been global. Japan's main stock index fell 3% in Thursday trading. Trading in the European markets are down between 2 and 3% right now. Michelle, John, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Quite an impact, as we were just hearing, and we will be back to Jeff in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, China says it will retaliate in response to President Trump's new round of tariffs, which now bring the U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods to more than 50%. China's government is accusing the U.S. of bullying.
When you add up all the tariffs now from the Trump administration on Chinese goods, 54% on everything China's trying to sell into the US. Of course, it's going to hurt Chinese companies wanting to sell to America. But Beijing has promised its own, in the words of the Commerce Ministry, resolute countermeasures.
That is BBC China correspondent Stephen McDonnell in Beijing.
Meantime, the Senate has passed a resolution that would block President Trump from imposing tariffs on Canada. The resolution would end Trump's emergency declaration on fentanyl, which he used to justify the tariffs on our northern neighbor. Virginia Democratic Senator Tim Kaine introduced the legislation.
If the president has concerns about trade issues with Canada, guess what? This president negotiated a signature trade deal, the USMCA, that got 89 bipartisan votes in this chamber, and he has a negotiating process to find a resolution to any issue he cares about.
All 47 Senate Democrats voted for it. They were joined in passing it by 4 Senate Republicans. The resolution not expected, though, to pass in the House.
Boeing's CEO has been on the hot seat in Congress. Members of a Senate committee questioned him about what the company's doing to avoid repeating past accidents and manufacturing problems.
He laid out part of what they have been saying they've been working on for months, integrating a safety management system, which is something that airlines, for example, have. And it's a way of trying to identify problems or trends before it results in something that like an accident or an injury. So they're implementing that. They say they've submitted their safety management plan to the FAA, and they hope to have their mandatory program in place by October.
That is CBS's Chris Van Cleve. Boeing's been under fire following several recent incidents, including that door panel that blew off a jetliner last year.
Coming up after traffic and weather.
Now the world's second richest billionaire is a D.C. homeowner. I'm Jeff Claybaugh.
It's 9:36.
Federal News Network is celebrating its 25th anniversary by sharing 25 transformative moments in government. Presented by Carasoft, your trusted IT solutions provider.
Federal agencies have more office space than they need, but they've taken steps to cut underutilized office space over the past few administrations. More on that in just a moment.
Carasoft and its reseller partners accelerate the future with advanced multi-cloud solutions from AWS, ServiceNow, Red Hat, Trellix, and Google Cloud, empowering federal agencies to do more and achieve more. See them all at carasoft.com/multicloud.
The federal government remains the largest owner of real estate in the country, but it's spent more than 20 years trying to cut building space and the cost of maintaining it. Those efforts gained momentum under the Obama administration. In 2013, the Office of Management and Budget issued a memo freezing the federal real estate footprint. 2 years later, it released a Reduce the Footprint policy focused on the disposal of excess and underutilized office space. Former Public Building Service Commissioner Norman Dong says the 2015 policy was the first time OMB set a government-wide policy to use property as efficiently as possible.
They recognized how the federal real estate footprint was just continuing to grow. And something else they recognized was that the government doesn't even know how many owned and leased properties it has.
Jory Heckman, Federal News Network.
Discover more now about this moment and others at top25.federalnewsnetwork.com.
Life isn't about what we take with us. It's about who we are and what we leave behind. So how will you leave them with what they need when they need it the most? Civilian federal employees have entrusted their family's financial future to WAEPA for more than 80 years. By safeguarding their tomorrow, you can fully appreciate today. Visit WAEPA.org to learn more. WAEPA, a part of your living legacy.
9:38. Traffic and weather on the 8s. Later on now with Rita Kessler in the traffic center.
Well, we definitely found a reason for the delay that we're seeing inside the Beltway on westbound 66. If you're after 29, but before Glebe Road, the wreck along the right side. A lot of vehicles over there on the right shoulder. But again, we're seeing people staying out of that right lane. So there may be a response vehicle or another crash vehicle in that right lane. You'll also find Lee Mill Road in McLean, south of Georgetown Pike, and before north of Tolston Road. The lanes are blocked due to an earlier wreck that caused the tanker with a fuel spill. So they've got a lot of cleanup still to do there. Road remains closed. This is near Difficult Run. Old Dominion Drive south of Georgetown Pike had been blocked near Falls Run Road due to some fire department activity. Now, we do still have delays on the northbound Baltimore-Washington Parkway. They now begin inside the Beltway after the Good Luck Road overpass headed into Greenbelt. After Greenbelt Road, before NASA Goddard, the left lane is blocked with the work. Getting across the Bay Bridge, there are now wind warnings in effect. That doesn't carry any vehicle restrictions, so the wind restrictions canceled. The wind warnings are in place. Southbound Baltimore-Washington Parkway just off and on volume from 32 to 197 with your lanes open. You'll also find in the district northbound to Branch Avenue at Camden Street Southeast. The lanes are blocked with a bus crash. Everybody heading northbound must turn at Camden Street to work your way around. You'll also find in the district southbound DC 295 delays from Eastern toward East Capitol Street, northbound slows passing Pennsylvania Avenue. I-295 cleared out. Suitland Parkway cleared out. We still have a delay on northbound 395 from the Pentagon across the 14th Street Bridge, headed toward the Case Bridge, and westbound 695 slows before South Capitol Street, passing the 3rd Street Tunnel and across the Case Bridge with the lanes open for now. Lido Pizza has a square deal for you, a 14-inch cheese Lido Pizza with an Italian salad for only $17.99. Order online at lidopizza.com. I'm Rita Kessler, WTOP Traffic.
Now to the PJ Fitzpatrick Home Improvement Weather Desk for your home's windows, siding, doors, and bath. Trust PJ.com. Here's 7 News First Alert meteorologist Eileen Whalen.
You can thank a warm front lifting north of the region for the damp, dreary, and drizzly conditions that we're experiencing this morning. This afternoon, it will be warmer, around 80, with higher humidity and increasing wind speeds. Later this afternoon and this evening, a chance for rain and storms, and any storms today could be strong to severe. I'm 7 News meteorologist Eileen Whalen in the First Alert Weather Center.
We are seeing rain in southern Montgomery County, western Prince George's County, and then in Howard County. It is 60 degrees at Metro Center.
Money news at 10 and 40 past the hour. Lots to talk about. Here's Jeff Claybaugh.
To the numbers, just 10 minutes into the trading session after President Trump announced sweeping global tariffs yesterday afternoon. As expected, the markets are sharply lower. The Dow is down 1,117 points. That is a 2.5% loss. The S&P 500 is down 186. That's a 3.25% loss. The tech-heavy NASDAQ is down 790 points. That's a 4% loss. Make that almost 4% now in early trading. Government layoff announcements in March total more than 216,000. That's according to placement firm Challenger Gray and Christmas's closely watched monthly report. It pushed total layoff announcements last month to 275,000, the third largest monthly total ever, topped only by April and May of 2020 at the start of the pandemic. First time since the financial crisis, more than 15 years ago, the majority of Americans now carry credit card balances from month to month. The latest Fed Reserve report says 60% now due. Mark Zuckerberg is now a D.C. homeowner. Politico confirms the Facebook founder is the mystery buyer of a $23 million, 15,000 square foot mansion in Northwest D.C.'s Normanstone neighborhood. Zuckerberg's D.C. neighbors there include Peter Thiel, Kellyanne Conway, and Steve Mnuchin. Jeff Bezos' pair of D.C. mansions in Kalorama are less than a mile away. Jeff Claybaugh, WTOP News.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And coming up next, we will go deeper on this market sell-off with CNBC's Michael Santoli. It's 9:43.
Here's Jim Smid, the principal architect for DoD and intelligence community at Palo Alto Networks on Federal News Network's DoD Modernization Exchange.
Oftentimes when we'll see an incident come through, those will come from a variety of different data sources, and oftentimes it might be over 100 different alerts. We are basically stitching those alerts together. We're giving them actionable intelligence to come out of that. So you're going to just have one action out of it. You're going to have multiple actions.
Watch the full discussion now. Go to federalnewsnetwork.com and search Palo Alto Networks. AI cyber attacks are rising, with data exfiltration now taking hours. Protect your organization by partnering with Palo Alto Networks. Bolster your cybersecurity defenses by integrating cutting-edge quantum computing technology and a zero-trust approach. With Palo Alto Networks, you get a holistic cyber resilience platform that's engineered to address all 7 pillars of an effective cybersecurity strategy. Defend your organization. Secure your data. Visit PaloAltoNetworks.com now. That's PaloAltoNetworks.com.
Who is Airbus U.S. Space and Defense? A long-time American partner, we deliver world-class satellite, rotary, and fixed-wing solutions to the U.S. government. Did you know every U.S. Army pilot trains on an Airbus helicopter? And the National Guard uses our helicopters to perform border security missions? At Sea Air Space, we'll showcase an unmanned helicopter that will change how America counters its adversaries. Who is Airbus U.S. Space and Defense? We are pioneering aerospace for a secure America.
Get breaking local news from WTOP and traffic and weather every 10 minutes.
In any room at home where you've got a smart speaker.
I listen in my garage in Greenbelt.
Just tell Alexa to open WTOP.
And get updates from all around the DMV, all around your home.
WTOP News.
9:45. I'm Michelle Bash.
Those sweeping new tariffs announced by President Trump have certainly spooked the markets. Right now, the Dow is off over 2.5%. The NASDAQ off 4.5%. Joining us now to talk about how this is going to play out is CNBC senior markets commentator Michael Santoli. Michael, you've been through this before. Do you call this a sell-off, a bloodbath? What are we experiencing right now?
Well, it's absolutely an aggressive sell-off. It's one of the, let's say, 20 or 30 worst opening drops in the S&P 500 in decades. Now, that being said, what's fascinating, at least initially, is that the market made an attempt to try and get in front of this and price in some risk of tariff disruption, of a lot more friction on the inflation and growth outlooks. The problem is the result, the certainty that the market craved was the wrong type. It was essentially the extreme worst version, both in the level of tariffs and in the somewhat kind of crude and contrived way that they were calculated. I think that Wall Street's very off balance on this idea that, in fact, this doesn't necessarily seem like the beginning of a negotiation. It certainly doesn't seem reciprocal by any, assumed definition of what that might be. And so, therefore, it's a matter of this is going to, at least the market's conclusion is, be a big hit to U.S. growth, obviously raise the risk of some kind of an economic downturn. Inflation probably be sticky, but the bond market's less concerned about that. It's more really pricing in the possibility that growth slows much more and the Fed might have to cut rates and all that stuff. Now, this is just the first blush conclusion. We obviously don't know how the rest of the world's going to react. I just do think that we have to keep in mind the market has been pulling back for a while here. And as we open up, the S&P 500 is right around where its low was on Monday. So I feel like the opportunistic traders might want to make a bid that this could hold for a little while, but the big macro backdrop, it's been much tougher to get comfortable with.
We always try to get down to what does this mean for the average person who may have a 401k, may have a financial advisor. I mean, any advice for that average person who's seeing these numbers and going, what do I do?
Yeah, do we just not look today?
Well, the one thing I always come back to is market downturns are a psychological stress test for any investor, right? If you're bothered by a 10 or 15% drop from an all-time peak in your equity holdings, either you own too much or you kind of don't know how the game works, because you do have these every couple of years at minimum. And usually it's kind of the cost of the long-term appreciation. But obviously, if you have some sense out there that your portfolio can't handle it, that's a specific conclusion in terms of what your needs are. But I do think that as of now, the magnitude and the character of this decline is still within the normal band of what happens when we get some possibility of economic trouble, when markets get overvalued, frankly, because another thing we're dealing with in the stock market is really not tariff related. It's this big questioning of the whole AI investment theme that started in earnest about 3 months ago, when that DeepSeek thing came out. So you see stocks like Meta Platforms and Alphabet cracking pretty hard, even though they really don't have a lot of exposure to the global trading goods or even macroeconomic growth. So I think all those things tell you that there's more than just the policy piece going on here.
When it comes to the tariffs, you seem to be saying earlier that the uncertainty around it is kind of off the charts right now. So is this not just a this morning event? Is this going to be a multi-day event as we try to make sense of it all?
If these tariff rates hold and they essentially are indefinite and there's no perceived room for them to be negotiated down, then I think it's going to really put the squeeze on corporate profits, on consumer spending ability. I mean, these costs get absorbed somewhere. I mean, there's all this debate as to whether the companies absorb it, whether the currencies can move to some degree to offset some of the tariff effects, or if it just goes through to consumer prices. It's some of all three, but it's essentially, a pretty big tax hike that somebody's going to pay, which means it's going to pull out from growth if they stay in this zone. I just want to keep emphasizing the calculus that almost nobody could believe, kind of how simplistic it was. It was basically saying that any country that has a trade surplus with the U.S., they just sort of used that and cut it in half and divided it by total imports and said, that's your tariff and non-tariff barriers, and therefore we're going to match those. So nobody had that in their preview of what this could be. So I do think the market does believe there's chance for this to be moderated or lessened over time, because it just almost seems like it's too extreme to hold for very long.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. Michael, we very much appreciate your analysis.
Great, thank you very much.
That is CNBC senior markets commentator Michael Santoli.
And let's get to Rita Kessler in the traffic center.
Now, if you're traveling on 395 northbound, that's where you're going to see the delay that begins from the Pentagon. Headed across the 14th Street Bridge or continuing on to lower 14th Street. Delays from the other direction are easing more. You do have a delay on westbound 695 from South Capitol Street toward the 3rd Street Tunnel. And then again, approaching and crossing the Case Bridge. You'll also find westbound 66 after 29 Spout Run Parkway. The right side is blocked with that wreck. There is a tow truck on the scene. We still have the closure in McLean of Lee Mill Road between Georgetown Pike and Tolston Road. An overnight crash caused a tanker truck to leak fuel. So that's near Difficult Run, and that's the reason why everything is still closed. We also have the work on the northbound Baltimore-Washington Parkway near NASA Goddard taking the left lane. Delays begin inside the Beltway. Explore the tropics at Whole Foods Market with juicy savings on fresh fruits, plus indulge in island-inspired flavors all over the store through April 8th. I'm Rita Kessler, WTOP Traffic.
7 News First Alert meteorologist Steve Rudin is here, and he's going to tell us why it's just so ugly outside.
Yeah, the clouds are rolling in, and we have a front that's going to stall across the area, and that's giving us a pretty wide range of temperatures right now, from 54 in Hagerstown to 67 degrees in Upper Marlboro. We'll see on and off showers as we head through the remainder of the morning, and perhaps a few thunderstorms later this afternoon and then into the evening after sunset. That will likely continue until after midnight. After that, clouds are going to stick around, and then we'll see showers on and off tomorrow. Temperatures today, upper 70s to lower 80s. Tomorrow, around 65 to 70. Morning showers will give way to just afternoon clouds on Saturday, upper 60s to middle to upper 70s, and we stay in the 70s on Sunday with a cold front later in the day that will likely trigger showers and storms and cooler temperatures for next week. Temperatures Monday and Tuesday will only be in the 50s, and by Wednesday morning, some neighborhoods could be close to freezing for wake-up temperatures. 54 Manassas, 60 downtown, and 67 the warmer spot in Upper Marlboro.
All right, thank you, Steve. We continue to monitor the financial markets, which have taken a nosedive this morning. More on that ahead. We've got more news in 60 seconds.
Nats fans, the game doesn't end at the final inning. Keep the action going at Tap Sports Bar at MGM National Harbor, the official after party of the Washington Nationals. Grab a cold one from our dozens of beers on tap and enjoy game day bites like a Blue Crab pretzel. Catch every highlight on our jumbo TV screens at indoor and outdoor bars. Your game day HQ is here. Visit MGMNationalHarbor.com for details. Monumental happens here. Tap Sports Bar is a 21-plus venue.
During your workday, you probably hear more than enough nonsense.
So you'll like listening to Sean Anderson and Ann Kramer on your drive home.
You'll get the latest local news from a source you can trust.
An update now on a story we've been following all day.
Breaking news from Alexandria. And traffic updates every 10 minutes on the 8s.
At the end of the day, you'll arrive home safe, sound,
and in full possession of your sanity. Afternoons from 2 to 7 on WTOP News.
Facts matter. Breaking news.
CBS News special report. Stocks are plunging in the first minutes of trading on worries President Trump's tariffs will spark a trade war. The Dow is down more than 1,200 points. The Nasdaq down more than 800. Foreign markets were down sharply overnight. World leaders are vowing to retaliate for the tariffs. The BBC's Stephen McDonnell is in Beijing.
This latest round of tariffs from the Trump administration has been described as a typical act of unilateral bullying.
Ursula von der Leyen is the president of the European Commission.
The global economy will massively suffer. Uncertainty will spiral and trigger the rise of further protectionism. The consequences will be dire for millions of people around the globe.
President Trump says he's looking out for America with his tariffs.
Reciprocal. That means they do it to us and we do it to them.
He says the U.S. will emerge stronger. Dow now down 1,196. CBS News Special Report. I'm Michael Wallace.
Now, if you're looking at your portfolio today, you may need a happy hour. And if you're looking for one tomorrow, we have some that are very wallet friendly. Anna Spiegel of Axios DC runs down some hot spots.
The happy hour is cheap again in DC, which is nice. No more of those $12 cocktails. Mad Hatter and DuPont Circle caps off the week with $5 martinis on Friday from 4 to 8 p.m. Plus, they have uber cheap dollar mugs on beer on Thursdays. And then Osprey Marini and Navy Yard. If you kind of want like a fancy happy hour but don't want to pay a lot, they do a 7 till 7 deal that includes $7 wines, beers, and spirits, classic cocktails, and snacks.
For more local events and happenings this weekend and beyond, go to WTOP.com.
The WTOP Traffic Center.
Tracking the top trouble spots,
The biggest backups. The major incidents.
the slowest traffic.
WTOP Traffic. Every 10 minutes. On the 8s. And when it breaks.
Sports at 25 and 55. Powered by Maximus. Moving people and technology forward.
Here is Dave Preston.
Capitals, even though they come up short 5-1, still have a little bit of celebrating last night. Alex Ovechkin's goal gives him 39 for the season, 892 for his career, 3 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's NHL mark, entering tomorrow's home game with Chicago. Defenseman Trevor Van Riemsdyk.
It's going to be pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's right there, and he feels like he's still scoring every night. So it's been huge for us, and obviously awesome for him to see that he's still doing it at this torrid pace.
Ever wonder what it's like to be in the booth for this historic run? Miking up for a milestone catches up with the Caps radio and TV announcers. It's on the sports page at WTOP.com. NBA Wizards beat Sacramento 116-111. Nationals lose in Toronto 4-2. Orioles get shut out at home by Boston 3-0. Dave Preston, WTOP Sports.
Thank you, Dave. And coming up here on WTOP, as we've been telling you, Wall Street is facing big troubles today. A sell-off underway in response to just announced U.S. tariffs. First traffic and weather that comes your way in 60 seconds.
Meanwhile, at Xfinity. So, influencer life going well?
Oh, yeah. I'm up to 32 followers.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, posting my tap dancing videos is easier than ever because we engineered Xfinity Internet with 99.99% network reliability.
Plus, Xfinity Mobile with Wi-Fi Power Boost gives you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. But wait, tap dancing? You don't tap dance.
Hey, what I lack in skill, I make up with passion.
Do more of what you love and love how fast you do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile. Now through April 17th, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and 1 unlimited mobile line together for $30 a month for 1 year and save $1,000 in your first year over Verizon and AT&T. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus 1 unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus 1 unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Actual speeds vary. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary.
This is WTOP News. WTOP FM Washington. WWWTFM Manassas. WTLP FM Braddock Heights, Frederick.
Traffic and weather on the 8s. Here's Rita.
Well, we have the crash on westbound 66 after 29, Spout Run Parkway, exit 72. The right side of the roadway remains blocked with the crash and the response. Right now, you're finding the delays out of Arlington, out of Roslyn, trying to make your way past the scene. Eastbound, a little heavy in Falls Church, headed in that direction. Not sure if that's a rubbernecking delay or not. Also in Seven Corners, westbound 50 near Patrick Henry Drive is a report of a crash. Now, on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, the delay northbound after the Good Luck Road overpass headed into Greenbelt. It is near NASA Goddard. The left lane is blocked with the work. Southbound slows from the Beltway headed toward the Good Luck Road overpass, but your lanes should be open. Also, getting across the Bay Bridge, wind warnings are in effect. That doesn't carry any vehicle restrictions. The earlier delays on southbound 270 are easing nicely. Just a little bit of volume passing Father Hurley Boulevard. A little bit of a slowdown on the southbound spur, trying to get onto the outer loop of the Beltway. And in the district, southbound DC 295 still slow from eastern toward East Capitol Street, but northbound is now seeing a delay coming from the 11th Street Bridge, passing Pennsylvania Avenue. You'll also find in the 3rd Street Tunnel northbound delays from Massachusetts Avenue headed toward New York Avenue. The WTOP Traffic Center is presented by Window Nation. Today, buy 4 windows, get 4 free. Visit windownation.com. I'm Rita Kessler, WTOP Traffic.
Now 7 News First Alert meteorologist Eileen Whalen.
This afternoon is going to be about 20 degrees warmer than yesterday. Highs between 78 and 83, well above our average of 63 for this time of year. Now we do have an isolated shower chance this morning and this afternoon, and still isolated shower and storm chances late this afternoon and this evening. But the ingredients are there for severe weather, so anything that develops has the potential to contain damaging winds and hail. So have a way to get weather alerts. Still tracking some wet weather tomorrow. I'm 7 News meteorologist Eileen Whalen in the First Alert Weather Center.
We have rain north of the district. It's 60 degrees in Foggy Bottom.
You're listening to WTOP, Washington's news, traffic, and weather station.
WTOP News. Facts matter.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Bash.
And I'm John Aaron. Coming up,
Wall Street is down dramatically as investors react to President Trump's new tariffs.
Right now, the Dow is off more than 3%. The S&P is down 3.5%. The NASDAQ is down nearly 4.5%.
A Senate snub of the president's tariffs against Canada. I'm Mitchell Miller, today on The Hill.
We're looking for highs near 80 degrees today with a chance of storms.
10 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. President Trump's new tariffs are spooking the markets. A half an hour into the trading day, the Dow is cratering. It's down 1387. NASDAQ's off 813 or 4.5%. The S&P down 202%. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick tells CBS Mornings.
Changes in the stock market, while they're initial, long-term, you've got to assume, and